Hi, ex-situ conservation can be done in different ways. One major way of ex-situ conservation is conserving in organisms in live form. One such strategy is zoos. Zoos are also called zoological gardens or zoological parks. It is a site of ex-situ conservation of animals. Animals are confined within an enclosure or semi-natural or open areas. These three forms actually zoos can be, or it may be in small rooms or some enclosures or semi-natural areas. Some places we have open zoos because animal will be wandering around the whole place. It helps to prevent extinction of species and subspecies and population. So it is a measure against it is in a way it is a measure to prevent extinction of many threatened and endangered species, but it also has have some entertainment values. In all these zoos, genetic management and captive breeding of population is practiced so that the animal will be protected, food and shelter and everything will be provided for the animal, and it will be breed, so there will be survival rate will be high, and some of this population actually can be reintroduced into the natural habitat. They are displayed to the public for entertainment and as well as for raising awareness about wildlife and its conservation values. It has scientific, educational, and economical values. It actually acts as a stock for reintroduction and reinforcement. Actually, if the natural population go below some limit, we can actually take these organisms to reintroduce into the wild, or the offsprings of this organism can be used for reintroduction. The One of the main disadvantages of zoos is like in the angle of conservation, it used to have high level of inbreeding. This high level of inbreeding may lead to the loss of genetic diversity and loss of fitness of the organism. That can be overcome by intensive managed practices by genetically identify the organism and genetically identifying the genetic diversity, then planning management strategies in such a way that diverse genetic diversity can be conserved. And then scientific strategies are needed to reduce pain, stress, suffering, and evolutionary impact on animals, because in zoos they are in the totally artificial enclosures. They will be exposed to artificial environment, artificial lighting, and then they are in close proximity to humans, crowds of human crowds, and they will be given homogeneous atmosphere and maybe similar food, unlike the wild. So those things may lead to the suffering of these animals, and so scientific strategies are actually required to avoid such type of stress. For that, actually what the we can do is using an enriched environment, which is called environmental enrichment strategies. In that, the atmosphere environment, local environment in the zoo is modified in such a way that which will help the animal to stay in a near natural condition. So those type of enrichment environments will improve the physiological and psychological welfare of the animal. It increases the expression of natural behavior rather than the artificially selected behaviors. And the abnormal behaviors will disappear if you are providing a enriched environment, and it will also have high fitness and which will be more fit for reintroduction to the natural habitat. One type of conservation method for the aquatic animals is aquarium. Aquarium has the entertainment values. It also is a way to conserve organisms, especially in large aquariums. It is an artificial habitat for freshwater and marine fishes, the invertebrates, amphibians, marine mammals, and marine plant like aquatic plant species. So we can actually conserve this organism in aquariums. In these aquariums, we are trying to practice sustainable breeding and harvesting. So it is an economical thing. If you can actually sustainably breed the population, we can actually maintain the population level, as well as we can harvest the economical value from these aquariums. This marine animal rescue and rehabilitation can be done in this aquarium. Coral reef rebuilding, by artificially growing the coral reefs in aquariums, I mean the large aquarium, wetland restoration, and sustainable seafood programs are all are part of this aquarium biodiversity conservation programs. Um, and it can be also used for wildlife oriented recreation programs, including like the dolphin rings and everything. It has key economical and nutritional resources. It can be act as a key economical and nutritional resources because of the ornamental fish market is so high, so large. So the conservation of this animal often provide opportunity to for economical benefit. And in nutritional resources, in the sense the fish is one of the commonly used foodstuff. So conserving these populations and sustainable harvesting of this population will help us to maintain the nutritional value of this population. Another is botanical garden, which is for the preservation or conservation of the plants. What the botanical gardens are actually doing is collection, cultivation, preservation, and display of wide range of living plants. So it's actually a zoo for the plants, and they don't move. Of course, in every botanical garden, as well as in the zoo, what they are supposed to do is the scientific identification and documentation. But if you go to the zoo, quite often we don't see such scientific description of the animals. But in almost all botanical garden, they will have the scientific names printed on somewhere around the plant. So all botanical garden should do the scientific identification of the species, the plant, as well as the documentation from where the plant is collected, when it is collected, how it is planted, what are the importance, what are the values of this plant, what are the medicinal properties of this plant. Everything need to be documented in a botanical garden. It can be actually grow outdoors or in a greenhouse. Sometimes we need a greenhouse facilities for maintaining some plants. In this botanical gardens, we are actually maintaining cultivars, native plants, wild relatives, medicinal, aromatical, or textile plants. Any plant which has a value is preserved in a botanical garden, or the wild varieties are also preserved. Some botanical gardens are actually taxonomy collections. They will collect or conserve only particular family or genus of the plants. Not all plants will be conserved there. And this conservation of the plants is very much important for agriculture, forestry, pharmaceutical industry, and biofuel industry, because it can actually act as a source or act as a base for improvement in these industries. It has many applications. The botanical garden, it helps in the conservation of plants. It can conserve the cultivated varieties as well as the wild varieties. It helps to reintroduction for the protected areas and ecotourism. So if the plants are here, we can actually take its seeds or vegetative parts for propagation to another plants or even to the natural habitat. It has scientific and educational purposes. Public awareness will be inculcated. Then most of the botanical gardens are the tourist destinations. So many people will visit there. So it is an important contributor of national and local economy. It acts as a field gene bank because we are growing the plants in a protected area and we are nurturing them. So we can actually conserve the endangered species of plants in this botanical garden. Sometimes we can actually conserve the organism in modified atmosphere by increasing humidity or controlling the temperature. Sometimes we will provide controlled environment inside a greenhouse to conserve the organism. One of the main limitation of this botanical garden is that most of the botanical gardens are focused on wild, ornamental, rare and endangered species. There are so many other species which is less known are avoided from the botanical garden. Only the species which has some visitor value will be entertained or will be promoted in botanical garden. And another disadvantage is that in botanical gardens, every plants will be each plants will be maintained in small population, and this small population will have large number of inbreeding, uh, frequency. So that leads to the loss of genetic diversity. So scientific planning is also required to reduce inbreeding and loss of genetic diversity. There are about 2,000 botanical gardens around the globe, and which is conserving about 6 million plants. Different types of plants can be conserved in a botanical garden, which include cactus and succulent plants. Those type of botanical gardens are actually beautiful. They have ornamental values and as well as visitor values. Then herbal gardens, you are very much familiar about that. Almost all the botanical gardens will have herbal gardens, which will conserve the herbs. Then greenhouses and shade houses. Then tropical plants. For us, tropical plants is not a big surprise, but for people living in other countries or temperate climate, the structure and morphology and physiology of the tropical plants are very much attractive. Medicinal plants will be conserved, aromatic or textile plants, and other exotic plants. So different types of plants can be conserved in a botanical garden. Then role of botanical garden. Horticulture and cultivation of endangered plants. So it will actually helps to conserve and propagate the population of endangered plants. It store resources for the restoration and rehabilitation of degraded habitat. If a habitat is degrading, we can actually rehabilitate the habitat by using resources in a botanical garden. It promotes and supports research in plants, plant taxonomy, genetics, and phytochemistry without disturbing the wild population. It is highlighting the importance of conservation by increasing awareness among public. It actually linking conservation as well as well-being of the people, because botanical gardens are a part of economical business. So it will actually encourage the local population. So it will benefit from tourists, the visit of tourists. Then the botanical garden actually also conserving indigenous and local knowledge. So it's a repository for indigenous and local knowledge. Thank you.